It's Patrick Hutzel from Intensive Care at Home, where we provide tailor-made solutions for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies and otherwise medically complex patients by improving their quality of life, and where we also provide tailor-made solutions to hospitals and intensive care units to save money and resources whilst providing quality care. In last week's blog, I shared discharging patients home from ICU poses no added risk. You can check out last week's episode by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's blog, I want to answer a question that we get quite frequently from our clients and also from people all over the world that visit our website, intensivecareathome.com. The question is, when can a tracheostomy be removed? Many mechanically ventilated patients in intensive care in an induced coma require a breathing tube or an endotracheal tube to facilitate such mechanical ventilation during critical illness. The goal should always be to wean mechanical ventilation, get a critically ill patient out of the induced coma, get them extubated. Extubation means the removal of the breathing tube or endotracheal tube, so that they can breathe spontaneously and unaided, so that they can leave intensive care and eventually go home. If, for whatever reason, weaning of mechanical ventilation and the breathing tube or endotracheal tube fails, a tracheostomy might be considered as a next step. So when is the right time and right situation to do a tracheostomy? Here are articles and videos that will give you all the knowledge you need if your loved one should have a tracheostomy or not. So one article and video that you can access is how long can a breathing tube or an endotracheal tube stay in? Another article and video about this topic is how long should a patient be on a ventilator before having a tracheostomy? You can also find what are the risks and benefits of a tracheostomy. And also, why would a critically ill patient in an induced coma need a tracheostomy in intensive care? Now you can get access to those articles and videos if you're scrolling down below this video, and you can find it in the written version of this blog below this video. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please click on the link below this video. That'll get you to our website where you can access all of those free resources. So once a tracheostomy has been done, your loved one can hopefully take the first steps to wean off ventilation and tracheostomy. Once the ventilator has been weaned, then the next step is to remove the tracheostomy. So then the question inevitably comes up, how does ventilation get weaned when having a tracheostomy? And again, we have some articles and videos that will explain exactly that topic for you. So for example, we have an article and a video around how to wean off ventilation and tracheostomy step by step, and also tracheostomy and weaning off the ventilator in intensive care, how long can it take? And again, you can find the links to those articles below this video. In most cases, a tracheostomy is temporary, providing an alternative breathing route until other medical issues are resolved. If your loved one needs to remain connected to a ventilator indefinitely, the tracheostomy is often the best permanent solution. In order to have the tracheostomy removed, which is also known as decannulation, your loved one needs to be off the ventilator completely and can breathe via trache mask, trache hood, trache collar, or trache shield. Then it's time to assess if your loved one can have the tracheostomy removed completely. Certain criteria need to be met for tracheostomy decannulation, such as a good strong cough or gag needs to be present in order to protect the airway. A swallow reflex needs to be present so that your loved one is not aspirating secretions, sputum, gastric content, or food. Your loved one generally needs to be able to obey commands in the non-neurologically compromised patient. Adequate cough and ability to clear secretions effectively and independently need to be present. Cardiovascular and hemodynamic stability. No new lung infiltrates on chest x-rays. Your loved one needs to be able to tolerate cough deflation for 24 hours. Your loved one also needs to be able to tolerate speaking valve for at least 12 hours or more, usually during the daytime, or tolerates a decannulation cap for up to 4 hours if airflow is present on finger occlusion. In patients following head and neck surgery, the decannulation cap may be left for longer periods at the discretion of the surgeon. Whenever weaning off ventilation and removal of tracheostomy in intensive care fails or is prolonged, intensive care at home, of course, is a viable and genuine option, creating a win-win situation for all parties involved by doing the following. Number one, getting patients out of intensive care into a holistic patient and family-friendly environment by having 24/7 ICU nurses come to your home. Number two, by doing that, we're improving patients' and families' quality of life, and in some instances, quality of end of life. Number three, we are reducing the cost of an intensive care bed, which is $5,000 per bed day, by more than 50%, therefore making health insurances and health funds wanting to support intensive care at home services. Number four, we are freeing up an in-demand and expensive intensive care bed that the hospitals need for other critically ill patients. And number five, we're helping families to stay economically viable, i.e., when they have a loved one in intensive care, families often spend day and night in intensive care, leaving them unable to produce an income. By having 24/7 intensive home care instead of hospital intensive care, families don't have to worry about financial issues because they can go back to work. We also have some case studies on our website here, so you can see how we have provided intensive care at home services to patients with tracheostomy. One case study on one of our previous clients where we looked after a 15-month-old toddler at home with a tracheostomy. The toddler eventually had the tracheostomy removed, therefore it ties right in with our topic. So have a look at the case study, Intensive Care at Home Services for a 15-month-old toddler, another win-win situation and success story. And again, I'll put a link to that case study below this video. Another client we looked after at home where we provided palliative care whilst the patient was ventilated with tracheostomy is also a link that I put below this video. The case study is Mary, in her late 60s, spent the last year of her life at home despite being ventilator dependent with tracheostomy and on chemotherapy. Last but not least, here is also some advice for our readers and viewers and clients in the United States. Many families contact us in the United States and they have a loved one in long-term acute care, also known as LTAC, with a ventilator and tracheostomy. It always saddens me deeply when we get those inquiries because LTACs are not the right place for patients on ventilation with tracheostomies. Many patients in LTAC die because the facilities simply lack the skills, expertise and know-how when it comes to ventilation and tracheostomy. Ventilation and tracheostomy requires ICU nurses and ICU doctors, period. Therefore, the only safe environment for ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies is either in ICU or in a home care environment with ICU nurses, like you can get here at Intensive Care at Home. But if you do have a loved one in LTAC, please contact us on our contacts page or ring one of the numbers that you can find on the top of the website as soon as possible, because we can help you take the next steps to get your loved one home as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. And if you want to find out how we can help you to get your loved one out of intensive care, including palliative care or out of long-term acute care, or if you find that you have insufficient support for your loved one at home on a ventilator with tracheostomy. If you want to know how to get funding for our service, or if you have any other questions, please send me an email to info@intensivecareathome.com or call on one of the numbers on the top of the website. Also, have a look at our career section. We are currently hiring ICU and pediatric ICU nurses for clients in Melbourne and in South Gippsland, Victoria. We are an NDIS, TAC and DVA approved community service provider in Australia. We have also been part of the Royal Melbourne Health Accelerator program for innovative healthcare companies last year. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's blog. This is Patrick Hutzel from Intensive Care at Home, and I'll see you again next week in another update.